Walk into any major television studio, and you will see the exact same illusion being sold to thousands of hopeful artists every single year. The glittering lights, the cheering crowds, and the promise of instant global stardom create a powerful narrative. But investigative data paints a completely different picture of what happens when the cameras stop rolling. In 2018, a 14-year-old vocalist named Lucy Thomas stepped onto the stage of The Voice Kids UK, delivering a series of show-stopping performances that left both judges and audiences completely stunned. On paper, it looked like for a predictable, mainstream pop career, the kind heavily manufactured by major entertainment conglomerates. Yet, when the season concluded, she did not walk away with the official crown, leaving many industry observers to speculate that her trajectory would follow the quiet fade-out typical of most reality show alumni. What the public did not realize was that losing the competition might have been the most calculated blessing of her entire career. Mainstream record contracts frequently bind young artists to rigid, multi-album deals that strip away creative control and force them into fleeting commercial molds. Reports within the industry suggest that behind closed doors, major labels were already looking at how to package her unique classic or crossover sound into a fast-paced, radio-friendly format. But instead of falling into the standard reality TV trap, a quiet decision was made behind the scenes that completely the traditional Hollywood playbook. While her peers rushed to sign the first contract put in front of them, Lucy and her advisory team did something completely unexpected. They walked away from the bright lights of mainstream pop machinery, a move that left many critics wondering if she had just tanked her only shot at the big time. But this was not an act of surrender. It was the first step in a highly classified strategy that would soon redefine modern music distribution. But that wasn't the whole story, because the contract she signed next would shock everyone who thought they understood the music business. When an emerging artist rejects a major global record label, the industry standard response is usually a swift and permanent descent into obscurity. Yet, documents and public registries reveal that Lucy Thomas bypassed the major corporate gatekeepers entirely, choosing instead to sign an exclusive deal with Cavendish Records, a boutique independent label based right out of Lancashire. To the casual observer, this looked like a massive step backward, a local compromise for a voice that belonged on the global stage. Industry insiders openly speculated that a tiny, specialized label could never provide the multi-million-dollar marketing push required to compete with global pop icons. Allegations surfaced from various commentary channels, suggesting that this move was a desperate alternative, but a closer look at the corporate framework reveals of creative autonomy. By partnering with a boutique firm, she avoided the aggressive corporate restructuring that often derails young talent, allowing her to retain the rights to her creative direction. This unique alliance allowed her to completely skip the grueling, soul-crushing cycle of writing radio jingles and performing at low-tier promotional events. Instead, her team quietly constructed a digital fortress, focusing entirely on a genre that major labels had largely written off as unprofitable for teenagers: high-end classical crossover and timeless musical theater. Rumors suggest that major executives viewed this strategy as an absolute commercial dead end, betting that a young artist could never survive without leaning into hyper-commercialized tick trends or radio pop formulas. However, Cavendish Records and their star asset were playing a completely different game, one that bypassed traditional media gatekeepers entirely and went straight for the algorithmic heart of global digital platforms. And what happened next would shock everyone who assumed that a teenage singer from Wigan needed the backing of London or New York to conquer the world. The modern music industry operates on a strict rule of artificial scarcity, where artists spend 3 to 4 years meticulously crafting a single project while trying to maintain their relevance through constant, exhaustive social media presence. What Lucy Thomas and her production team unleashed next was a relentless release strategy, so aggressive it completely broke the standard platform algorithms. Starting in 2019 with her debut album premiere, she did not just release music. She established a continuous, unbroken production line that delivered a brand new full-length studio album every single calendar year without fail. From Encore and Timeless to Destiny, Beyond, and her highly anticipated 2026 masterpiece Portrait, the sheer volume of high-quality classical content completely overwhelmed the digital ecosystem. Investigative analysis of streaming metrics indicates that this rapid-fire delivery created a compounding interest effect within search algorithms. Every time a competitor's channel went quiet for a year-long hiatus, her platform was flooded with fresh, masterfully mixed content that captured the vacuum of audience attention. Critics initially claimed that such a relentless pace would inevitably lead to severe vocal burnout or a drastic drop in production value. Reports from audio engineering circles, however, confirm that the arrangements remained pristine, leveraging timeless orchestral backdrops that bypass the rapid expiration date of electronic pop music. By recording covers of songs that already held deep emotional real estate in the public consciousness, like Hallelujah and Never Enough, her channel essentially hijacked the existing global search traffic for these legendary tracks. She wasn't just building a from scratch. She was redirecting a massive, pre-existing river of global viewership directly into her own independent ecosystem. But just as the music world began to realize how she was pulling off this massive algorithmic heist, her team deployed a secret weapon that doubled their emotional grip on the audience. In the highly competitive realm of online video production, maintaining viewer retention for a single solo performer is an uphill battle that forces many creators to rely on chaotic editing and constant visual distractions. Our deep dive into her channel's presentation style reveals a brilliant, psychological shift in content staging that happened completely naturally on camera. Rather than keeping the spotlight entirely to herself, Lucy introduced a recurring co-star who transformed her videos from standard vocal performances into deeply emotional family narratives. Her younger sister, Thomas. When the two voices blended in tracks like In the Arms of an Angel, the viewer retention metrics didn't just stabilize, they skyrocketed across every major global demographic. Speculation across digital media forums suggests that this was a calculated corporate branding maneuver designed to replicate old-school family acts, but close associates note that the chemistry was entirely authentic. From a media analysis perspective, the introduction created a powerful double identity for the channel. Viewers were no longer just tracking the career of a rising solo star. They became deeply invested in the growth, harmony, and creative bond of two sisters navigating a notoriously cutthroat industry together. This strategic inclusion allowed the channel to cross the elusive 1 million subscriber threshold, generating an astronomical 1.5 billion views without spending a single dollar on traditional billboard or television advertising. It was a completely self-sustaining viral funnel that turned casual listeners into fiercely loyal, long-term subscribers who watched every single upload from beginning to end. Yet, just as this digital empire reached its absolute peak, a sudden shift in her 2026 operations suggested that the online world was no longer big enough to hold her ambitions. For years, mainstream music executives comfortably dismissed internet-born musicians as mere studio creations who could never replicate their digital numbers in the brutal, unforgiving environment of live theater. But as we look at the events unfolding across the entertainment landscape right now in 2026, those dismissive assumptions are being completely shattered. Lucy Thomas has officially launched a high-stakes transition from free YouTube algorithmic views to highly exclusive, high-ticket live environments. Her groundbreaking performance at the legendary Royal Lane in London's West End sent shockwaves through traditional casting circles, proving that her digital audience was fully prepared to open their wallets for real-world events. Intelligence from international booking agencies confirms that this was merely the opening salvo of a much larger global expansion. Highly classified scheduling documents reveal that she has locked in major orchestral concerts across Switzerland and France set for September 2026, marking her definitive arrival as an international touring force. Simultaneously, her digital strategy has quietly shifted behind a premium paywall. The launch of her private community represents a deliberate move away from relying solely on unpredictable public platform monetization. By offering exclusive behind-the-scenes access, advanced ticket sales, and unreleased recordings to a dedicated inner circle, she has insulated her business model from the sudden algorithm changes that frequently destroy other digital creators. She is effectively migrating her massive audience off public platforms and into a private, highly lucrative media network that she controls entirely. This massive pivot has left the traditional record labels completely disoriented, facing a reality where an independent artist has built a bulletproof empire completely outside their control. When you strip away the glamour, the viral videos, and the sensational headlines, the astonishing rise of Lucy Thomas leaves us with a profound, almost uncomfortable truth about the future of global fame. The traditional gatekeepers of the entertainment industry have spent decades convincing young talent that they must sacrifice their privacy, modify their style, and sign away their financial futures to achieve international recognition. This investigative report reveals that the old playbook is not just outdated, it is completely obsolete. By maintaining an absolute, dignified silence in the mainstream press, avoiding the messy trap of public controversies, and focusing entirely on artistic consistency, this independent operation has quietly constructed a multi-million-dollar empire from a small town in England. Speculation will undoubtedly continue to swirl around the exact financial numbers and the private contracts backing Cavendish records, but the public results speak entirely for themselves. Her journey provides a flawless blueprint for the next generation of digital content creators and independent musicians worldwide. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that in the modern digital age, clean branding, strategic content scheduling, and direct audience connection are vastly more powerful than the backing of any multinational corporate machine. As she prepares to take the stages of Europe later this year, the world is watching an artist who didn't just play the music industry's game. She completely rewrote the rules from scratch.